Mr. Arthur. Easy now. Martha. It's just a bit of thunder. It can't hurt us in here. You know, you all complain about the draft in this hallway, but you don't know what real cold feels like. He looks up, eyes sharp behind thick glasses. I wasn't always stuck in this wheelchair. You know, I used to be able to climb 200 spiral stairs without losing my breath. It was 1954. When I was 24, I took a job that no one else wanted. I became the keeper of the Black Rock Lighthouse. And that is where I learned that silence can be louder than any scream. Is that tea fresh, Nurse Sarah? Thank you, dear. It warms these old bones. Listen to that rain against the glass. Relentless, isn't it? It reminds me of the rhythm of the sea. Colonel, wake up. You're missing the good biscuits. You know, sitting here in this armchair, smelling the floor wax and that lavender spray they use to cover up the smell of. Well, us. It's easy to forget who we used to be. Look at my hands. Spotted, shaking a little when I lift the cup. But friends, there was a time when these hands were like iron. They were calloused from rope and salt water. I wasn't always Mr. Arthur, room 302. I was Arthur the keeper, and I have a story I haven't told anyone since the day I handed in my keys. It starts way back, before color TV. Before this internet thing you young nurses stare at. It was 1954. When I was 24 years old. When I was 24, I was running away. Not from the law, no, but from a broken heart. A girl named Clara had married a banker instead of me, and I wanted to be as far away from people as possible. So I took the post at Black Rock. Imagine a jagged tooth of stone sticking out of the wildest part of the Atlantic. That was my home at 24. My body was a machine. I could haul 50-pound oil drums up the spiral staircase, 2 at a time. My hair was thick and dark as coal then. I didn't need these glasses. I could spot a ship's mast on the horizon 5 miles out. The isolation was absolute. For 3 weeks at a time, I wouldn't hear a human voice. Hoose to wind, the crashing waves, and the creak-creak-creak of the lantern rotating above my head. Most men would go mad, but at 24, I thought I was strong enough to handle the silence. Primera, jajua, es wrong. My days were simple. Polish the brass, trim the wicks, record the weather in the logbook. Wind, northeast, sea, rough, visibility, poor. I remember the smell of that place. It didn't smell like antiseptic and boiled cabbage like this retirement home. It smelled of kerosene, ozone, and salt. Every evening, I would climb the 140 steps to the lantern room. It was my duty to keep the light burning. To warn the ships, I felt like a king in a tower. But the ocean plays tricks on you when you're young and alone. One Tuesday, about 2 weeks into my shift, the fog rolled in. It wasn't like the mist we get in the garden here. Martha, this was thick, yellow soup. You couldn't see your own boots. I was up in the gallery, cleaning the glass, when I heard it. Not the foghorn. A voice. I froze. My heart hammered against my ribs a strong 24-year-old heart. Not this fluttery thing I have now. I leaned over the railing. "Hello," I shouted. The wind snatched my voice away. There it was again. A cry, faint, coming from the rocks below. Now, strictly speaking, I wasn't supposed to leave the post during a watch, but I grabbed my coat and my lantern. I ran down those spiral stairs, my boots clanging on the metal clang. I opened the heavy iron door at the base, and the storm hit me like a physical blow. The spray soaked me instantly. I scrambled over the wet black rocks, slipping and sliding. "Where are you?" I yelled, and then I saw it. A small wooden rowboat smashed against the jagged rocks, and lying there, half in the water, was a woman. She was unconscious. Her skin was as pale as the moon. She couldn't have been older than me. Maybe 22 or 23. I didn't think. I acted. I scooped her up in my arms. Back then, at 24, lifting a person was nothing to me. I carried her all the way back to the lighthouse, kicking the door shut behind us to lock out the storm. I laid her by the wood stove in the kitchen. I was terrified. Was she dead? I checked her pulse. Faint. But there, I wrapped her in my wool blankets. I made tea strong and sweet, just like Nurse Sarah makes it, but with condensed milk. 4 hours. I watched her. The silence of the lighthouse was broken now by her shallow breathing. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open. They were green. Startlingly green. "The light, ... she whispered. "Is the light on?" I looked up. In my panic to save her, I had forgotten the time. The sun had set. The lighthouse was dark. A lighthouse keeper's one rule, Colonel, is never let the light go out. "Stay here," I told her. I ran up those stairs again. My lungs burned, my legs pumped. I reached the lantern room, struck the match, and lit the mantle. The beam swept out across the dark ocean. Flash, ... Flash. I looked out the window. And that's when I saw it, because the light was now on. The beam illuminated a massive shape in the water, just a few hundred yards from the rocks. A tanker ship. If I had been 5 minutes later, if I hadn't lit that lamp, that ship would have crashed right where the girl's boat had been. I collapsed on the floor of the lantern room, gasping for air. I had saved the girl, but I had almost killed 100 sailors. When I went back down to the kitchen, the blankets were folded neatly on the chair. The door was unlocked. The wind was howling through the crack. "Miss?" I called out. I went back out into the storm, shouting until my voice was hoarse. She was gone. The smashed rowboat was gone too. The next morning, the supply boat came. I asked the captain if there were any reports of missing women or small boats. He looked at me like I was crazy. "Arthur, lad," he said, "no boats have been out in this weather for a week. You've got cabin fever." So, here I am. Years later. I never saw her again. Sometimes I wonder if she was real. Maybe the isolation at age 24 finally broke my mind for a night. But here is the thing, friends. Arthur reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small, smooth green piece of sea glass. I found this on the kitchen table where she had been lying. It wasn't there before. I'm old now. My legs can't climb stairs. I can hardly see without these glasses. But I remember that night. I remember the weight of her in my arms, and the terror of seeing that ship in the dark. It taught me that life is a balance. You have to save the one who is drowning. Yes, but you must never, ever forget to keep your own light burning, because you never know who else is relying on you in the dark. Nurse. I think I'll have that biscuit now. The chocolate one. Thank you. Thank you.